Hello, everyone. Tonight on Shdows Secrit, we're taking a journey through the iron veins of darkness, where metal screams and spirits wander, and the sound of wheels on tracks carries echoes of the dead. These are 3 scary true train horror stories, whispered from the fog-covered railways of the UK, where tragedy and mystery still haunt the night. The first story takes us back to 1986 in North Yorkshire, where a railway worker named Daniel was assigned to the night patrol near the abandoned Brackenmoor halt station, a forgotten platform swallowed by weeds and mist. The nights there were quiet, the kind of silence that presses against your chest and makes your heartbeat sound too loud. One night, as he walked his usual route, Daniel heard a faint whistle. A steam engine whistle, something that should have been impossible since no steam locomotives had run there for decades. The sound grew louder, and through the thick fog, he saw a glowing yellow light swaying gently, like an old lantern leading something massive through the darkness. Then came the rhythmic clank of iron wheels, the hiss of steam, and the faint outline of an old black locomotive sliding silently along the rusted rails. Daniel froze as the ghostly train passed inches from him. Inside, he saw pale faces pressed against the glass, lifeless passengers staring blankly ahead. A man in an old conductor's uniform raised his hand as if signaling something, but then the entire thing vanished into the fog, leaving nothing but the sharp scent of burnt coal. Daniel sprinted back to the control shed, trembling. And when he reported it the next day, his supervisor turned pale and said quietly, "That train crashed here in 1910. 30 people died when the brakes failed." From that night onward, Daniel refused to work the Brackenmoor line, and to this day locals say if you stand there past midnight, you'll still hear that steam whistle echoing through the mist, announcing the arrival of a train that never reaches its station. The second story comes from a woman named Claire in London, who took the last train home from King's Cross to Peterborough every evening after work. She was used to the late hours, the quiet carriages, and the soft rhythm of the train rocking through the night. But one night in 2007, her routine journey became something out of a nightmare. She stepped into an almost empty carriage, where only one other passenger sat. A frail, elderly woman dressed in old-fashioned clothes, her bonnet tied neatly under her chin. Claire smiled politely and sat opposite her, but as the train moved, she noticed something strange. The woman never blinked, never shifted, just stared blankly out the window into the darkness. When the ticket inspector entered, he checked Claire's ticket, but didn't even glance at the old woman. Confused, Claire asked, "Aren't you going to check hers?" The inspector frowned and said, "There's no one else here, love." Claire turned around, and the seat was empty. Her blood ran cold. The woman was gone. Trying to convince herself it was a trick of the light, she sat back down, but her heart stopped when she saw that the seat where the woman had been sitting was soaked, as if drenched in muddy water, and there were wet footprints leading from the seat straight to the window, which was slightly fogged from the outside. Just as the train pulled into the next station, a freezing gust of wind blew through the carriage, carrying with it the faint smell of earth and rot. When she got home, Claire looked up the history of that route and found an old report from 1948. A woman matching that exact description had drowned when a train derailed into a flooded embankment near Huntingdon. Witnesses over the decades have claimed to see her, the drowned passenger, sitting silently on late-night trains, forever staring out into the darkness, searching for a way home. The final story takes place in the Scottish Highlands, on the hauntingly beautiful West Highland line between Fort William and Mallaig. In 2014, 4 university friends, Adam, Lewis, Freya, and Jamie, decided to film their scenic journey for a travel vlog. The locals warned them about the Glenfinnan Tunnel, where several workers died during construction in the 1890s when the tunnel collapsed, burying them alive inside the mountain. The friends laughed it off, eager for adventure. Everything was fine until the train entered the tunnel. The lights flickered once, twice, then dimmed. A heavy silence filled the carriage, followed by a faint knocking sound on the windows. Freya whispered, "Do you hear that?" Then, from the far end of the carriage, a tall, dark figure appeared, its head hanging unnaturally low to one side, its body half-transparent like smoke. The air turned icy, their breath visible even though the heaters were on. The cameras they were using started glitching, recording bursts of static and whispers. Adam stood up, calling out, "Hello? Who's there?" But the figure just moved closer, step by slow step. Suddenly the lights went completely out, and in the pitch darkness, they heard a wet dragging sound along the floor, followed by a faint voice whispering Adam's name. When the lights flickered back on, the figure was gone, but muddy handprints streaked the walls, and the smell of damp soil filled the carriage. Adam sat frozen, pale as chalk, muttering that he could still hear them, the voices from inside the tunnel. When the train reached Malague, Adam went to the station restroom to wash his face, but he never came out. CCTV footage later showed him entering alone, then moments later a shadowy figure appearing behind him before the camera feed cut to static. His friends and police searched every inch of that station, but there was no sign of him. Some believe the spirits of the tunnel took him, their 21st century offering. Train conductors still claim that when they pass through Glenfinnan Tunnel, the lights flicker, and they see faint handprints on the glass, wet and muddy, just like that night. These stories remind us that the railways of the UK are more than just steel. And travel? They repaths lined with the echoes of tragedy, places where the veil between life and death grows thin. So the next time you sit alone on a late-night train, staring at your reflection in the window, remember, someone else might be staring back. Thank you for watching Shdows Secrit. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more terrifying stories from the shadows.